Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Smith. I am the Germantown Central School District Business Administrator, and this presentation is to go over the 2023 Capital Improvement Bond Proposal for Germantown Central School District. So back on November 1st, 2023, Germantown Central School District Board of Education passed a resolution to move forward with the 2023 Capital Improvement Project Bond and putting forth a vote to the voters on December 19th, 2023. The purpose of this presentation is to review with you the scope of the project, timeline for this project, and the financial impact to the taxpayers and the district for the proposed 2023 capital improvement project. So how was the proposed project planned? We worked with our Board of Education, we developed a capital planning committee team, and we worked with our internal building teams here at Germantown. With our Board of Education, we reviewed long-range financial planning and capital planning, which started back in 2021 near the end of our 2015 capital project. In that, we reviewed building condition surveys, which are surveys that are done by the state every 5 years for districts that go over all the nuts and bolts in a district and address and prioritize concerns and needs with a district. With that, we prioritize our district needs and desires. We then worked with the Board of Education, reviewed the proposed projects for the scope to allow them to provide feedback so that we can develop the full scope for this project that's in front of you today. Our Capital Planning Committee meeting started back in the spring of 2023. This involved myself, the business administrator, our district superintendent, CPL, which is our architectural team and engineering team, the Palumbo group, which is our project manager, and fiscal advisors, which is our financial advisors for the district. With them and together, we reviewed the building condition survey to identify where are our main needs for the district. We also reviewed different concept designs for different areas of the building and budgets for various scopes throughout the project. Together, we also developed and prioritized building plans focused on students' needs and the necessary maintenance items for the district. Committee building tours with administrators to walk through different areas to identify the needs and show what our problems are in the district. And we held workshops and meeting presentations with our Board of Education. Our building teams, which is our principals and director of special education, canvassed staff regarding facility-related program needs throughout the district, and also met with architects to go over different plans and scopes to make sure they're addressing the needs throughout the district. So prioritizing our needs. What must be done in the district to ensure that we are continuing to have a healthy, safe environment and success for our staff and students? So this is really driven by that building condition survey that will outline all of the needs throughout the district. And then what would we like to do to better support and enhance the programming within Germantown? While we're going through this, we constantly have in the back of our mind, how are these projects aligning with our district goals? Continuing to provide a safe, inclusive, welcome environment for all, continuing to promote community engagement, and strengthening the implementation of innovative K-12 curriculum. So our summary of our scope of work that we're looking to do with this project is to address student and staff safety, accessibility, and well-being. So necessary building maintenance, we need to look at putting in a new maintenance facility to keep our maintenance worker out of basements with flooding issues. We have bathrooms and locker rooms that are a little outdated and need renovation. We need some roofing repair done on our roofs, floor replacement to remove asbestos tile, connecting our sewer line to Germantown City Sewer, and repaving the parking lots. Support for emergencies, installing outside speakers for emergency purposes, an access road to our fields in case students or staff are injured while out there and emergency vehicles can get to them. New door hardware with lockdown function with just a push of a button and a door is locked. And a generator for the school to be used as a shelter when needed, as we are a Red Cross shelter in Germantown. Student and staff safety, repair to doors, exterior stairs, and our playground, adding safety padding and repurposing the equipment. Accessibility, looking to replace chairlifts with ramps. So overall, our scope of work, this is the first floor. So everywhere in red, you'll see these are renovations. So these areas are the different spots throughout the building that are going to get renovated. And then our gray area is the addition. So this would be the addition of a maintenance facility for the district. Looking at the second floor and the roof, This is the different areas of scope. Again, in red are going to be the areas of renovation, and then the gray will be the addition. So we're going to go through the scope in each one. So we're looking at addressing flooding in the basement. So our current basement has flooding downstairs due to the water table that's been here since the school was put in its place. You'll see the reflection in this first picture. You can actually see the glistening of the water off the floor, showing that there is actually water down there. And at times after major rainstorms that we do get water, when we remove a pallet, because we have to keep everything on pallets in the basement, once we remove a pallet, sometimes there's mold underneath there that we have to clean up and get out of there. And then for our gentlemen to even get down into the basement, they have to use this little wooden ramp because water builds up at the bottom of the stairs at times during heavy rain. So they'll walk across that ramp to get through without having to step in the water. These are unsafe environments for our staff to be working in. We all know that water creates moisture, and moisture can create mold, and mold will develop sicknesses and illnesses in our staff. And we don't need that or want that. Our playground renovation. So we're looking to demo the existing playground over on the Main Street side of the building. This playground is used for 2nd to 6th grade students. And we're going to look to install a brand new playground with a poured-in-place safety surface. Currently, our playground is wearing down on the rubber protection on the steps, causing the metal to rust because it's exposed to the elements. Several of the equipment outside do not work as they're not functioning and they don't slide as well anymore. And the ground and gravel, it's gravel, so it's not a soft padding. It is bare down to bare dirt in some spots, making a very hard impact. And in fact, in 2021-2022, we had 141 injuries on this playground. 22-23 school year, we had 149. And when we started this presentation about a month ago, we had about 35 injuries so far this school year. One of the other benefits with replacing this playground is the company we're looking to go through allows us to have a 25-year warranty no matter what. So if a part breaks or falls apart, we call them up and they come out, no cost for labor, no cost for supplies or materials, and they replace the part immediately. The other benefit is we can also look at doing a community project with the community in developing this playground to where it cuts down cost on labor. And we just have people come in, help do the work, and they actually bring a foreman on site to ensure everything's done to code, and it still keeps that warranty for the 25 years. This is a rendering of a drawing that our architects have done for another school at the same company. This is at Weebatock. So this is a concept design. This isn't exactly what we're going to do, but this is similar. It's similar to our size of playground. So currently our elementary principal and our CSE director are working with the architect and the company to pick out what equipment we'd want and how we'd want everything to lay out. Looking at some site work for the district. So we're installing new outside speakers for emergency purposes. So if we have to have a lockdown or a lockdown drill, those that are out in the fields and behind the school can hear that emergency announcement. We're repaving the north parking lot. That's the front parking lot on Main Street side of the building. We're also going to be installing a sewer line going from the district down to the Bank of Greene County where the town has a sewer already run. And we're going to connect right to that. It's gravity fed, so we don't have to use pumps or anything. We're also installing a fire apparatus access path to the fields. So that way emergency vehicles can get out to the fields in case of an emergency and won't have to worry about trying to truck through the mud. It gets very wet over here on this side of the hill. And replacing cafeteria steps in front of the building as they're deteriorating and falling apart. We're also looking at installing a path around the brand new auditorium for emergency purposes as well. If we were to have a snowstorm or a rainy day and we had to have an emergency and evacuate, trying to get somebody in a wheelchair through that area would be very difficult. Looking at our roofs, so looking mainly at the original roof and the second addition to the building, we have a lot of leaks and holes in this roof. As you can see in this top picture, there's so much moisture actually in the insulation from the hole. We have a plant growing. So what we're going to be doing here is we'd be cutting out 10 by 10 patches, pulling out all the wet insulation, and then re-insulating, resealing that patch, and then recoating the whole entire roof. And we'll actually get rid of this black roofing on this area and we turn to the white reflective roof. And this allows for less AC usage in the summer because the roof's not absorbing all that sun ray, which can, in the end, allow for a reduced cost for the district. Locker room renovations. These locker rooms are actually from 1960s, so they're very outdated. They have very high, tall lockers that doesn't allow for coaches or the physical education teachers to watch the students and ensure that they're safe and not horseplaying or do anything inside of there. Several of the equipment in their benches have broken down and are breaking. Our heating system is about on its last leg and about to go out. And most importantly of all, we still have asbestos floor tile in these locker rooms for the girls. Another issue with this is the girls and boys locker room are not similar. There are differences, which is a Title IX violation for the district. So we need to get this addressed to make sure that we aren't into Title IX violation. Here's a rendering, a drawing of the locker room. This is a concept that was actually decided back in 2015. Unfortunately, this part of that project got pulled. So we're looking to bring this back in. So making both locker rooms exactly the same in both coaches' office, boys and girls, giving them the same and allowing for lower lockers that can be seen through so you can make sure that everyone is being safe inside the locker room and there's no issues going on. Bathroom renovations. So several areas throughout the building are second and third grade bathrooms, our red tile area, which is our pre-K and kindergarten bathrooms, boys bathroom on the second floor, all are a little outdated to the point where there's a lot of touch systems still in there where you have to touch a toilet or a urinal to use them, touch the sinks to turn them on. We want to get to the point where we're a completely touchless bathroom, so you don't have to go in and touch things. You're just using the facilities and washing your hands and getting out and updating them, making them look cleaner and nicer and want to go use those restrooms and not be like, I don't want to be in there. We're looking at converting chairlifts to ramps throughout the building. We have 4 chairlifts. We're looking to convert 3 of those to ramps. A lot of times with these chairlifts, there's so many safety mechanisms on them that if they do go down, it costs anywhere from $500 to $5,000 to get repaired, all just for 1, 2, 3 times usage. So we're looking to convert these to ramps so we don't have to use the chairlifts. Unfortunately, with a ramp, for every inch high, you have to go a foot out. So one of our areas is 64 inches tall, which means we'd have to make a ramp that would cover 64 feet, which would be very costly. We'd have to move several of the classroom doors and locker room doors, and we'd lose out on several student lockers as well doing that conversion. So the cost wasn't worth the benefit. This is a rendering concept of what we'd be doing in the library. This isn't exact, this is just a concept. So there used to be a room right here, a little glass room. We'd be removing that and putting a ramp to go around the side of the room, allowing for more space in the room for the library books, the displays, computer setups potentially. And then that way, in case of emergency, if the lift goes down, you can't get them out, or in this case, you just use the ramp and you can get out of the library. Lockdown door hardware. Currently, we have several keys throughout this building because there's so many additions, and a lot of the keys aren't in sync. So I want to say I have about 8 keys in my pocket right now for this district. This would allow us to convert to 1 key for classrooms, 1 key for admin offices, 1 key for exterior doors. And then that way in the classroom, a teacher, a student, or another staff member can lock a door in an emergency without having to have the teacher there or without having to fumble with keys. So it's a quick push the button, the door is locked, and they're safe and secure. Also looking at doing door replacement throughout the district. This first picture on the left is our original cafeteria. These doors are from 1940s. They are not fireproof or fire retardant, so if there was a fire, it would be able to get right through this area with ease. We're also looking to replace the high school gym doors, the high school library doors, and the elementary school gym doors. We're also looking to replace select flooring throughout the building. There's still a lot of areas in the district where there is asbestos floor tile. This first picture is in one of the hallways by our technology area. There is asbestos floor tile underneath the LVT tile. And once that starts becoming open to the elements, and if something was to drop and crack that, it's going to be very costly to replace. We actually, in this middle picture, this is our now weightlifting classroom. It was our old music room. It has asbestos floor tile. We had a weight drop, broke one tile, we had to replace 3 of them, and it cost the district $14,000. Then over here is the original carpet throughout the district. So we're going to be removing all the original carpet and replacing it with LVT tile. And for those of you that have walked through the original part of the building, you know that the floor creaks. Because the floor is not level, we'll also be improving the rafter or the supports underneath the floor so that we can eliminate that noise and reduce any noise in the classrooms that students might be hearing when other kids are walking down the hallways. Additional interior work, we're replacing our oil line in the basement to allow for more oil flow to our boilers so we can utilize all of our boilers. And then we also are going to be increasing the pumps to our boilers. Painting throughout the school district, as you can see in this picture right here, our door trim is green. Our school district colors are not green. We're looking to improve the school district's image by getting rid of the speckled paint walls and the green door trim and getting to our school colors of red, black, and white. Also in our tank room downstairs in the basement, we have a lot of old fuse boxes. These are not just regular breaker boxes. Some of these are old fuse boxes. These need to be replaced and converted to actual breaker boxes, or if they're completely offline, just removed from the wall entirely. Maintenance facility. So looking at the main issue of getting the gentleman out of the basement to get away from the flooding area, we worked with 4 different concept designs on what we could do, and we settled pretty much at this design here, which is removing the old garage that's in front of this school, which is really an eyesore for the district, completely removing that, allowing for more parking space up front. And then in the back of the building, on the back side of the high school gym, we would be able to build a maintenance facility for the team. This would allow for a loading dock. Currently we do not have this, so if we were to ever get a truck come to the school that doesn't have a lift gate, we really can't accept that delivery. This would allow for that, so we'd actually have a loading dock pad, so either there's a lift gate or not a lift gate, we're able to get the supplies off of that truck. Also allows for a 3-bay garage that allows for the men to have a spot to work on the vehicles and maintenance them. Currently right now in the garage out in the front parking lot, there's no heat in there, it's not insulated, and the walls are starting to deteriorate on ground level, so the water's rushing right in when it rains. So if they have to get on the ground to work on a truck, they're laying in cold concrete wet. Also, this allows for storage area for supplies, to get all those supplies out of the basement where it's wet and moist, getting them up here in a dry environment so they don't get ruined. With this, we're also going to be able to convert our old music room into an actual fitness room. Once we get rid of those asbestos floor tiles and put in floor padding and get equipment in here, we have a college level fitness class that we run here at Germantown. And last, we're looking at a generator. On our second day of school here in 2023, we had a power outage in Germantown that everybody knows about. And unfortunately, we had to close the school down. We didn't have the ability to keep the building open. And then we also found out on that day that we are a Red Cross shelter, which let us know that we can't support the community if there was a need. So to be able to support the community in case of a power outage or a disaster, we're going to need some way to keep our kitchen up and running, keep a spot for people to hang out, and then keep our bathrooms up and running so people can use facilities and take showers if needed. So this is going to be crucial. We're also looking on the back end of working with the FEMA group, Red Cross, and Columbia County Disaster Recovery to get this done through a grant. So if we're able to do that, then we don't have to put this through to the taxpayers and we can just expense this elsewhere. So how are we going to do this project? So we're looking on doing this in a phased out over 3 years. So phase 1, work's going to begin the winter of 2024 and then complete the fall of 2025. And then phase 2, the work is going to begin the summer of 2025 and complete in the fall/winter of 2026. So looking at each phase, we're going to have scope 1 and scope 2. Scope 1 is looking at items that are much quicker to submit to SED. They're very straightforward for the most part. Where phase 2 is a little bit more detailed, a little bit more drawings and concepts are going to be involved in these. It's going to take a little bit more design time. So putting that in phase 2 gives us that time to address all the needs in those projects. And talking about that timing of everything, so right here on this yellow line, that's our budget vote on December 19th. This timeline is anticipating that this vote does happen and is passed on that date. So if that doesn't happen, this timeline will change. But once the vote is passed, we will start design phase. We'll be working with our architects and engineers and project manager to really get every design and concept down that we want for these areas. Once design phase is done, we submit our project to SED for review. SED is about a 12 to 16 week lead right now. But that doesn't mean just because we submit to SED, we got 12 to 16 weeks to just hang out and sit on our hands. We're immediately starting the design for phase 2 once we submit to SED and we're waiting for responses. Once SED does respond, we'll be able to get our bids and awards put out for the projects. This will give us our actual true costs for the capital project. At this point, we've talked with the board due to the situations that happened at the last capital project and skyrocketing prices. At this point is when the board can decide, do we save the money and pull the plug because costs are way too high, or do we keep moving forward? And if the costs are much higher than what the taxpayers have approved and things would have to get pulled, we would come back to the taxpayers and have that conversation and figure out what we're going to pull. We will not just be pulling items and doing certain projects. So at that point is when the board can choose to pull this plug. After bids and awards are signed, we'll start construction on phase 1. Once phase 2 design is done, we'll follow the same thing as phase 1, SED review. Then we'll put bids and awards out, and then construction of phase 2 will start and potentially to end December 2026. Safety is always a big concern when looking at capital projects and around students. These are some of the laws and regulations that all of our construction teams and architects and engineers are going to have to abide by when working on the district's property. Won't go through all of these, but this is just a list of all the different ones. So looking at financial considerations for our project. So capital project financial assumptions are based on allowable state aid for each building. So each district gets state aid based on projects that are directly correlated to students. For Germantown, our aid ratio is 58.8%. So for every dollar of approved project that's aidable, we would get 58.8 cents on that dollar back. We're looking at about 81.5% of this project to be aidable. And we're looking to utilize $2 million from our capital reserves to help offset the cost of the taxpayers. When we're looking at borrowing in our estimates that we're going to talk about in a minute, we're being very conservative and we're estimating higher than what current rates are and what current rates will be when we go to borrow. We're looking at a 15-year principal with interest and payment schedules. And then we'll talk about the tax impact. So looking at our project, we have financial considerations. So we're looking at a $13.9 million project. Then we have capital reserves of $2 million, leaving us with an amount to need to be borrowed of $11.9 million. 13.9 does seem like a high sticker price, so let's break that down a little bit. So we have a total project of 13.9. Of that project, we're saying 81% of this 13.9 is going to be aidable. That gives us $11.2 million of the project that is potentially aidable on a conservative side, so that could go up and more than likely will go up. Looking at this $11.2 million, if we take that 58.8% of our aid ratio of $11.2 million, we would get from New York State $6.6 million in aid. So breaking this down, 13.9 million, taking out 6.6 million, taking out our capital reserve, 2 million, leaves a local share of $5.2 million before interest in taxes. Looking at that a little more in depth on an annual basis, so again, that $13.9 million, we have the $2 million from reserves. We're looking at an average principal and interest payment annually of $1.1 million. Building aid annually, we're looking at $557,000. We have a retired bond, which is a previous project falling off the tax levy of $118,000, giving us an average impact on the tax levy to the local taxpayers of $433,000 each year for 15 years. What is that impact per $1,000 of full house value? That's 42.9 cents on the dollar. So for a house that's $250,000, you'd be looking at $107.34 increase to your local school district tax bill. So let's just break down that annual impact to the local taxpayers a little bit more. So looking again, $13.9 million ticket price. Then we have our capital reserve of $2 million. So the impact to the taxpayers on average for 15 years is $433,017. If we were to multiply that by 15 years, the local taxpayers are funding $6.4 million. Call it 6.5 at the end of the day. Key dates: next Wednesday on November 15th, we are having an open house and public hearing at the district where community members can come through, walk the building. We're going to walk through the old maintenance facility, the basement, the locker rooms and bathrooms, so that way you can get eyes on some of the issues that we're currently have within the district. We also are going to be doing another one on December 6th, and then our bond vote, or budget vote for the bond, will be on December 19th from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. inside the district elementary school gymnasium. If you have any questions whatsoever, please reach out to myself, Ryan Smith, or the district superintendent, Benjamin Bragg. Our emails are both on this page. We also have a Q&A that you can submit questions to on our website and our Facebook page. Look forward to seeing you all on December 19th for the vote. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.